What is up, my dear friends? Today's lesson is about how you can go about rebuilding a better self-image so that you can feel better about yourself through self-care practices that actually work. Today's episode is going to be insightful and it's going to bring you a lot of hope because I'm going to give you the ability to take control and charge of not only yourself, but also your future. And I hope that sounds good to you. But before we dive in, understand that today's video lesson is only going to give you one out of the three big ideas that I want to talk about that will help you build your self-image so that we can focus and double down and slow down on today's implementable step or your self-care strategy that's going to significantly improve your relationship you have with yourself, as well as increase your self-image and how you feel about yourself. So today's main point that I want to go over is a concept that we're going to be talking about, which is called living in congruency, which I'll be hitting on that in a minute. But before I do that, I want to talk about the three definitions that I think are vitally important throughout these next three video series. Number one, the first definition, if we're going to be talking about self-image, you got to know what that means to me. Self-image means it's this idea on how you see yourself, how you view you. Okay, that's your self-image. It's how you see you. There's a side of a spectrum. You'll either see yourself as a good person, bad person. It's simple as that. Or you might fall in the middle. There's moral values, there's beliefs, and there's programming set up either to work for you or against you that's going to help you see yourself a certain way. So your self-image is currently, if you're going through a heartbreak, completely destroyed. If you're anything like my heartbreak, I was completely destroyed. I didn't know who I was. I felt worthless. I felt like I wasn't enough. I didn't feel lovable. I felt cheated. I felt lied to. I was, felt like I was backstabbed. I couldn't believe people's words. I wasn't believing myself at times, and ultimately, my self-image was very low. How I saw myself was not a person who was lovable. And through this practice alone, I began to change that. The second definition is self-love. Well, this idea of self-love, it's a topic that's always talked about, but I like definitions because they bring clarity. And when you have clarity and good definitions, I think you'll understand the lesson a little bit better. So bear with me. If you know what self-love is, it's, your ability to love yourself, but it's also this belief that you hold that you are a valuable and worthy person in this world. That's self-love, meaning that you feel valuable, you feel worthy, you feel enough. That's self-love. Okay, now self-care. Self-care is going to go hand in hand. I'm going to give you self-care tactics and strategies that will improve your self-image. And in doing so, it will improve your self-love. Okay? So your self-care definition is the act of taking care of your mind, body, spirit, and soul and emotions. This is the active process of making your mind and body a pleasant place to inhabit, to live. So today's episode is all about, or lesson is all about, being able to implement just one very powerful self-care practice that is going to actually significantly improve your self-image and by effect help you feel better about yourself and improve your self-love. I hope that sounds exciting because this is where I believe my life began to truly change. This is where I begin to actually create happiness and generate happiness and feel happier and started to see that there like light when all I saw was darkness. So my goal today is just to bring you some self-care practices and strategies that you can begin to implement so that you can begin to rebuild a better version of yourself, a happier version, a healthier version, a positive version, a wealthier version of yourself, and begin to repair parts of yourself that you feel hurt, broken, and damaged so that you can begin to walk back toward happiness. That's in today's video, and I hope that is exciting. So let me just go ahead. With enough said, let's dive right into this one because this one is going to be a powerful one. And if you do this alone, by itself, that's all you have. If this is all that you focused on, your life will significantly begin to improve and change for the better. You'll begin to attract better quality relationships, a better quality thought pattern, a better quality character of who you're becoming, and so much more. I'm excited to get this information to you because this information here is what changed my life personally and significantly and quickly after my heartbreak. Now, when you practice self-care physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, you become better able to pursue your goals and enrich the lives of those people around you. When you begin to take care of yourself, you begin to help other people feel better about themselves, because you can't give away what you don't have. You can only give away what you do have. And when you have goodness in you, you can give other people the feeling and thoughts of goodness. So that should be exciting and something that you're working toward on a day-to-day basis. But ultimately, what I do believe that will come out of this is that you will begin to increase your resilience and start to see the light in places where you only saw darkness once. Your mindset will begin to shift. Your emotions will begin to change, and you'll begin to feel more alive, more joyful, more spiritually charged because of this one self-care practice. So stick with me. I just want to really get to the point that I am always trying to improve my self-image and how I see myself, how I more importantly feel about myself. And the way that I do that is basically stems from this very foundational piece and self-care practice and strategy that I'm going to give to you. But I want you to understand where I came from, because a lot of you guys see me today and you're probably thinking to yourselves, like, there's no way that he was once there. You don't look like you're there. Now, this was back in 2013, 2014, when I was dealing with a lot of pain after my heartbreak. So I've had a lot of time to heal. I've had a lot of time to work on myself, and I had a lot of time to improve my quality of life. So I want to help you understand that I know where you're coming from. And the reason why I'm spending so much time in the Happy Heart Academy, and why I created it and founded the Happy Heart Academy, is because I understand how broken I felt and how worthless I felt, and how I didn't feel like I was enough, that I didn't feel like I could open up to other people, that nobody would understand, and I could never heal. And the only way out of it was through taking my own life. I was so scared in those times of my life that I vowed if I ever made it through this, I would teach other people how to make it through it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, I'm not perfect. I always have room for improvement, but it's nice to know that I am just genuinely happier with the quality of life that I live, the quality of relationships that are in my life, and the beautiful emotional experience that I also have. So throughout grade school, middle school, high school, and even college, I always found it super hard to accept who I was. I found it very hard for many different reasons on how difficult it was for me to begin to accept me and make me feel like I was worthy. And first reason why I believe this was such a difficult problem, why I didn't accept my self-image and how I viewed myself, was because after my parents' divorce, honestly, that broke me. I was like 4 years old. There were brutal battles. I mean, like, I'm not comfortable always with saying this, but like, the battles between my parents got super ugly, like physical, verbal. It was bad. Thank God that God separated those two, because they needed to be separated. But at the time, I didn't think that way. It caused me a lot of suffering. And after the divorce, we lived with my mom for a while. We then moved like 5 different times, and then I moved in with my dad finally for a couple different reasons. But ultimately, that divorce shattered my family's financial security and independence. We came from a very well-off family, and then after the divorce, we lived in a 2-bedroom trailer for most of my life through my grade school years, middle school year, high school year, and even into college before I moved out. I was living in a 2-bedroom trailer that my dad owned, and where my dad slept on the couch, and my brother got a bedroom and I got a bedroom. And like this, why I'm telling you this is because growing up for me wasn't easy. Financially it wasn't, emotionally it wasn't, spiritually it wasn't, and it just not having enough money in our lives made us feel like we weren't already enough, like I wasn't worthy of money, that I wasn't worthy to hang out with the cool kids, that I wasn't worthy of having the new cleats for football, that I wasn't worthy of all of these things. And so one of the first reasons why I want to talk to you about of feeling like I couldn't accept who I was is because we lived in a rundown trailer park, in a 2-bedroom trailer, and where my dad had to sleep on the couch for 18 plus years. Because he gave up his bedroom so that I could have my own personal bedroom and grow up and be myself and different things like that. And that made me feel like as though a lot of my other friends that I had, they didn't have the same struggles. Therefore, I felt different. I didn't feel accepted. And secondly, another way that I felt like my self-image was imploded or just completely destroyed was I was never good at school. Growing up, I was always way behind in reading, writing, and math. And I had more tutors than I had friends, honestly. And this kind of crushed me and crippled me at times. When my friends were outside playing, I was inside with a tutor. When my friends were outside on recess, I was inside trying to learn how to read a book. When my friends were going out and enjoying themselves, I was always stuck, feeling like inadequate and unable to comprehend the things that they were able to comprehend. I remember sitting in class feeling like I will never be able to learn the clock, the old hand clock. I remember so vividly. I'm like, I'm screwed. I am completely effed. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel like I'm accepted. And this is part of my self-image. I didn't feel smart enough. And this made me feel inadequate, like I was never going to be smart enough, that the only way that I'd ever be able to figure life out is if I were to rely on somebody else or if I were to cheat. Those were the only two ways that I felt adequate going throughout life. And lastly, throughout my high school career and playing football, one of the things that I experienced a lot of was this feeling of fake friends, and I think we all go through that during high school stages. So if you remember your time, I'm sure we can relate. But ultimately, there were many times where my teammates would have parties and just hang out or have sleepovers, and all the guys would be hanging out after football games and different things like that, but I was hardly ever invited. And if I ended up there, it's because I invited myself. I kind of just showed up, and because I thought I was a part of the team, so I figured it's not that big of a deal. But then I realized that people don't want me there, and I just felt ignored, and once again, it just did not help me feel accepted. And the list honestly could go on and on and on, and I'm not trying to spend all this time. I just want you to understand that throughout my heartbreak, throughout my parents' divorce, throughout schooling, throughout just not getting invited to different parties, I felt like I wasn't ever enough, that my self-image was destroyed by these circumstances and situations. And you might be like, well, Tyler, you're going to be okay. Well, yeah, you're going to be okay too. I share these with you because I just know where you're at. I get it. I know what it feels like to not feel like yourself, or to feel like you're thought as enough or worthy of love. And especially after going through a heartbreak, when you gave your everything to somebody and they just went behind you and stabbed you right in the back. I understand how difficult that truly is, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody. And I believe that we can begin to change our self-image through some powerful self-care strategies that we're going to be talking about. So self-love is really all about accepting yourself. I think the greatest form of love is acceptance. Being able to accept yourself or another fully and wholly without judgment or trying to manipulate them is what I like to think about as self-love. Self-love, by definition, means having a high regard of your own well-being and happiness. It means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your own well-being to please others. So that's what self-love is, and I understand where you are currently at. I understand that you're broken and you feel not worthy. You're hurt and you feel like you can't love, that you'll never be able to open up again and actually begin to improve your relationship with yourself, with others, with God, and everything in between. You'll never be able to get back what you once had, and I want to say that that's false. It's a choice. If you believe that and you choose that, then you're correct. But if you believe otherwise and choose otherwise, then you will prove yourself wrong, that there are more quote-unquote fish in the sea. And that's not what I'm trying to get at, because I hate that saying. I hate, there's always more fish in the sea. No, but you don't understand. I remember my mom always saying, like, there's more fish in the sea. I'm like, you don't understand. There's only one fish, and that fish is for me. And you're telling me that, there's more fish. I don't want to hear that. So I'm not going to give you that same speech. Because that's not the place for it. But I'm going to go about giving you some strategies. Let's have some fun talking about this strategy that I think will significantly improve the quality of life you live by teaching you how to improve your self-image. So, like I said, I do have 3 big ideas that can really help you rebuild your self-image and help you to feel better about yourself after heartbreak. But what we're going to be focusing on instead is just one today, because I want this to be shorter. I want you to be able to completely indulge in it. I want you to be able to understand it and take it in fully and wholly so that you can actually implement it into your life, because nothing changes if nothing changes. If you just listen to me and think that that's going to be enough, you're wrong. If you implement what I'm teaching you, you will be right and you will see significant improvements in your life. So strategies that can help you rebuild your self-image through self-care that actually work. Number 1, the first one that I want to talk about is starting to live with congruency. It's start living congruently. Hear me out. Your self-image could be a lot better. Duh. And you should be a lot more congruent in how you engage the world. How we think of ourselves, aka your self-image, and how we behave in accordance with that image in the real world is the stuff of congruence. It's one of the most profoundly powerful drives you have as being a human being. To live in consistent alignment with who we think we are and how we want others to perceive us and who we want to become. When we don't behave as the person we believe ourselves to be, we feel off, out of sorts, and often frustrated or angry. This is what I talk about when I talk to my clients about living with congruence. How we think of ourselves and how we behave in accordance to who we want to be, how we want others to perceive us, and who we want to become. When we live in alignment to those three things, when we live in congruent to those three things, we begin to feel better about ourselves. But when we don't behave as the person we believe ourselves to be, we feel off, out of sorts, and often frustrated and angry with ourselves. Simply put, when you do things that you know that you shouldn't do, but you do them, you feel bad about yourself. So if you want to destroy your self-image, do the things that you know you shouldn't do, that your core is telling you that who you're not. For example, if you say that you're a loving and patient lover, but you're haunted by that time that you blew up on your ex, this is the idea of you were living out of alignment and out of congruency. Right? So if you're saying that you're loving and you're saying you're patient, but you're not living that out, and you're angry and you're short with them, then you're going to feel bad about yourself. It's that simple. But the opposite is also true. And this is the powerful key here. This is the powerful lesson. This is the power behind this lesson. If you decide to be love, because you know you're loved, you know you're happy, you know you're healthy, you know you're patient, and you live in alignment to that and incongruent to that, and you show up as that, your self-image will begin to improve. If you just catch that alone, we can end this video here, honestly. I have discovered and coached many people through this problem, and many of us think too little of ourselves, and it causes us to show up in the world in a way that it makes us feel limited. Because we think too little of ourselves, we may live in a congruent state to limiting ourselves. And we just feel like we are just limited because we have limited thoughts, we have limited beliefs, we have limited emotions. And this limited belief about who you believe you are and thus who you think you're going to be, you just end up feeling miserable because you're too small. You're thinking too small of yourself. You're thinking that you're not worthy, you're not enough, you're not lovable, you're not happy, you're not healthy, you're not positive, you're not wealthy. All of these things, you're thinking all of these things, and then you live in alignment with those things, you'll end up feeling miserable because I know deep down you know that you're not those things. You also know that you can be more and have more and deserve better, and when you're not acting your best self or giving yourself the best, you will just simply feel miserable. Not congruent to who you know you can be will keep you feeling stuck and will keep you feeling miserable. And we're trying to get you unstuck. We're trying to help you get not feeling so miserable and move towards happiness. And the way that you go about doing that is by setting up these things that we'll talk about in a minute. But basically what I'm going to help you understand is that something that I've learned that I found rather profound in the congruency space is like when you don't simply live with congruence in your life or in your relationships, you don't show up as that happy person that you say you are, and you shoot someone down or you stab someone in the back or you lie when you say you're not a liar or you cheat when you say you're not a cheater, you begin to feel that guilt. But the only way that I've learned to work through this challenge of this this self-image, this low self-image, is to challenge your standards and expectations. I've learned to challenge people's expectations, what they expect of themselves, and help them raise their standards so that they're shooting higher than the moon. They're shooting for the stars and they land on the moon. Okay, what this kind of means is that when you think more of yourself and demand that your actions be congruent with the best of who you are and who you can be, you will begin to feel better. Your self-image will begin to improve. And I understand that there is a lot at stake here, but here's what you need to know is that we need to focus on setting some new standards for yourself. We need to set new standards for yourself, and you can begin to set new standards for yourself if you want happiness after heartbreak and feel better about yourself. You have no other choice than to be more congruent for yourself and for others. Okay? That's the main point. You need to make sure that you're living in more alignment to who you are, who you want to be, and also how others perceive you. And then when you live in congruent or in alignment to those things that you set yourself out to be, you will begin to improve your self-image automatically. It happens most of the time. Think about this. Have you ever tried to go on a diet before, or you set yourself out to go to the gym for 4 days a week and then you actually do it? Don't you feel better about yourself? Don't you feel confident? Don't you feel competent? Don't you feel like you have the power, like anything can change? When you just stick to your word, when you just show up and be who you say you are going to be, don't you feel more enriched and alive and joyful and loved and open and accepted? Of course you do. Of course you do. So what I want us to focus on today, as I get these notes taken care of, what I want us to focus on is setting new standards for yourself. You can't create congruence with something you've never defined before. So it's important to consciously create a unifying self-image of who you are and who you want to be. Setting standards for yourself is the best way to go about doing this. So we will begin here. We will begin by setting new standards for yourself, because the only way that you know how to live congruently is if you have actually set the standard to live congruently and understanding what that actually means. So while doing so, most people, when we talk about this new idea of setting new standards for yourself so that you can start living in alignment to that better version of yourself, so that you know when you're off or when you're not off and different things like that. But when we begin to understand that who we are as an individual has been created by our family, has been created by our friends, media companies, social media, how to be cool, books, podcasts, anything that we can completely absorb usually builds our character. And many people don't spend enough time to actually choose who they want to be in this world. They just accept whatever the world is doing and they conform to that idea. And that can make you live a shallow life. That can make you feel depressed. That can make you feel miserable and make you feel stuck and make you feel like you're inauthentic. You kind of lose yourself in the noise because there's so much coming at you and you're like, well, this is what's cool. So that's what you need to do. Everyone's getting a tattoo, so you need a tattoo. Everyone's having sex before marriage. You need to have sex before marriage. Everyone is drinking. You need to drink. Everyone lies. It should be normal. It's those things that we've adopted from outside of ourselves that create our character. And we're going to begin to change this because you have the complete control to change this by creating new standards for yourself and defining who you want to be, how you want other people to perceive you, and who you want to become. So that's 3 different ideas, but I hope you're following along, because here's the kicker. As long as you begin to define your standards and you start moving toward those standards and acting out those standards, your self-image will improve as long as those standards are exactly who you want to become. So most people are living with self-images and sets of standards that were developed by external influences, like I said, your families, friends, social media, and society. But who has created your self-image and standards in your lifetime? Has it been your friends? Has it been your family? Has it been your ex? The media? Who? Because what I've learned and what I just shared is that your self-image and set of standards that you're currently living with were not created by you. Let me say that again. Your current standards that you are currently living with were not created by you. And that's part of the reason why we suffer. and why we think so little of ourselves. Because who we are is not even who we chose to be. We've just kind of accepted it. And therefore our self-image is not as good as we would wish it would be, especially after a heartbreak. So let's change that. Let's start to actually change that and start acting with every single day in congruence with your self-defined image so that you can begin to feel more authentic, proud, complete, fulfilled, and joyful. And we can do that by setting the standard, okay? So today we put a stop on this running our lives based on old, outdated, past self-image that was once shaped by our friends and other people's opinions and society and media and all other junk. We take control of our self-image and who we believe we want to be. Today we move forward by defining who we are today and who we want to become, not by living in the past, but rather living in the hope-filled future. That's where we're going to start living. I often ask my clients to choose and memorize 6 words. These 6 words are going to help you completely raise your standards and expectations. When you raise your standards and expectations and you live in alignment with that, I don't know why I want to keep saying in alliance, it's in alignment to that and congruent to those standards and expectations, you will begin to increase your self-image. And that should be exciting. That should be so exciting. And ideally, how I usually go about coaching people through this is when I ask you the question, tell me, have you defined your self-image? Or has somebody else given you that self-image? And most of the time what I've learned, like I said, is that most people don't choose their self-image. So now I'm giving you the conscious choice to choose how you want to be, who you want to be today, how you want others to perceive you, and who you want to become. You have the choice to create a beautiful future after your heartbreak. This is like what has happened during this heartbreak is the whole foundation has collapsed. Like basically, if you think of a building and a tornado just went through the building, none of the buildings there, it's completely demolished in a million pieces. And what can you do? You can start to rebuild. You can start to rebuild and rebuild better, stronger. A stronger building that can withstand high winds, a stronger self that can withstand hard times, tough times. And we can go about doing that by memorizing 6 words that become the standard frames with which you act in your life. Now, 3 words about who they are, meaning who you are, and 3 words about how you treat others. Total of 6 words. While choosing 6 words to help us stay congruent, it will help us move toward happiness. It's one of the most important things that you will ever do that will help you create happiness after heartbreak. The activity alone will help you move forward toward a brighter future. So let's talk about these 6 words. Okay, so the first 3 words that I have written down here that I want to talk about that you need to begin to focus on is brainstorming a bunch of words that you might use to define yourself in personal life from now on. Like, what 3 words can you use to define yourself? What 3 words do you want to be? What 3 words do you want to focus on implementing into your everyday life so that you can begin to live in alignment and with congruence to that individual, to that character, to that person? So my 3 words that I've chosen, and I've chosen them back in, 2015 probably-ish, is I am present. I want to be present. I am enthusiastic and I am joyful. These are my 3 words that I anchor myself to. So every day I try to be present with the people that I have in my life. Okay, I try to be super present and enthusiastic. Like, try to be the more person that has the most energy, the person that shows up excited, that people enjoy being around. Because I enjoy being around people, I want people to enjoy being around me. Because if you remember, that's not how it was when I was growing up. People didn't want to be around me. I don't really understand completely why. So maybe, I don't know. I really don't know completely yet. I'm still trying to mumble through that, right? But ultimately, I want to be enthusiastic. People like to be around people that have high energy and enthusiastic, joyful, peaceful, positive, right? So I am present is one of the key terms that I focus on every single day, especially when I'm with my fiance. I am enthusiastic and I am joyful. Happiness is like something that I think we're all after, and we find it through different ways in our life, right? So whether you find happiness through, reading a good book, going out for walks, praying, hanging out with friends, family, going out to movies, however that be, building a business, contributing to the greater good, recording a podcast, coaching people, painting, writing, drawing, whatever it may be, I think most of the things that we do throughout our life is supposed to bring us some type of happiness, some type of joy. So that's one of the 3 words that I choose on a day-to-day basis is joyful. Doing the things that I love to do so that I experience more joy throughout this life. So once you have spent some time brainstorming what your 3 words might be, I want you to do something for me. This is something that I have done in my phone as well. It's not only understanding what your 3 words are, but it's also making sure that you have daily reminders. This is powerful. Daily reminders that are going to help you to remember how you want to show up in this world. So every couple hours, I am present, I am enthusiastic, and I am joyful come up as a calendar reminder on my phone so that I can always kind of re-anchor myself back to those words so that I can feel like I am actually living in alignment and with congruency throughout my daily walk in life. Because oftentimes we can get so busy we forget who we want to be. So I set up a trigger. I set up this trigger in my phone that has words: I am present, I am enthusiastic, and I am joyful, so that every couple hours they pop up and they remind me that I am present, I am enthusiastic, and I am joyful. And oftentimes what this really makes me do is question, am I present? Am I enthusiastic? And am I joyful? And if not, I take 10 deep breaths and I try to realign myself with the greater good, the better version of myself, a version that I am wanting to be and wanting to create, not what someone else wants me to be and wants me to create. Okay, so now let's move on to defining your 3 social standards. So these first 3 words are about who you want to be in this world, how you want other people to see you, right? So these next 3 words are your social standards. These are the words that will help you keep at the top of your mind whenever you're interacting with another person. I say my 3 words anytime I shake the stranger's hand, anytime that I jump on a call with a client, anytime I greet my fiance or people that I love, or just people that I'm surrounded myself by. I always remind myself of these 3 words. And my 3 words that I use as a social standard is I am engaged, I am caring, and I am inspiring. So 6 words total. So my first 3, I am present, I am enthusiastic, and I am joyful. That's who I want to show up as in this world. And then how I want to be with other people is I want to be engaged. It's kind of still present, right? Still the idea of present, but I want to be engaged. I want to be caring, and I want to be inspiring. And now I choose these 3 words because I saw them as a critical. I thought of these 3, a total of 6 words, but I chose I am engaged, I am caring, and I am inspiring because I saw them as critical in helping me to remember to demonstrate to other people that I am genuinely interested in them and listening to them without any type of distractions going on. Like, that's what engagement means. It means listening to somebody and being fully present with them and engaging with them, making them feeling like I'm a good listener, like I care, like that I have a presence to myself that they're like, wow, I really liked him because he was engaged, he listened, he heard, he didn't talk before I expected him to. And it's just these different things. So I also picked that I care deeply because I care, and I say that I'm caring because I care deeply about who you are as a human being and what you're going through. I also picked I am inspiring so that I could always remind people that happiness is always possible, no matter how difficult the situation, heartbreak, depression may be. So I picked I am enthusiastic. I picked I am present. I picked I am joyful. That describes me. That's who I try to live in alignment to every single day. I also picked I am engaged. I'm engaged. Like when I sit with my clients, I'm engaged, fully engaged, not distracted, focused on them. When I'm caring, I show up and I'm here because I care. Because I want to improve my skill set to be a better coach for you, to be able to help you overcome your heartbreak so that you can create happiness in return. And I am inspiring. And I inspire people to always remember that happiness after heartbreak or defeat is always possible if we choose to be so. So these 6 words, when internalized and demonstrated in the world, can have immediate and long-term effects in your life. So when you find your 6 words, when you figure out and write down your 6 words, and then you implement them into your life and you show up as them, that's the ultimate power. The ultimate power is for you to write down your 6 words and then to focus in on those 6 words and live in congruence to what those 6 words mean. So pick your 6 words. Find who do you want to be today, and how do you want to be perceived by others? And then who do you want to become? In doing so, you're going to be able to live with more congruence in your life. And when you live with more congruence in your life, you're going to be able to feel like your self-image is improving because you are who you say you are, and that feels good. When you are who you say you are and you show up as the person you know you want to be, you will feel better. When you say that tonight when I go out to dinner with the family, that I'm going to be fully present and I won't pick up my phone and I won't take any calls, I won't look at social media, and I'm just there to absorb their time and their essence and their liveliness, you will begin to feel better. You'll give yourself a pat on the back, and you'll begin to embrace what it means to feel fully alive by living with congruence. So I challenge you, if your self-image is suffering, if you're feeling like you're damaged, like you don't feel like you're good enough, like you don't know who you are, like you're suffering and you don't know how to get out of that unstuck feeling of not worthiness, of not feeling like enough, like you're not ever going to create happiness after your heartbreak, well, I challenge you to figure out what 3 words you would choose to be today and for the rest of the days ahead. And then figure out 3 words that you want to show up when you're interacting with people. Like, who do you want to be? How do you want other people to perceive you? It's your choice. How you want to be, who you want to become, how you see yourself is your choice. So if you want to improve how you see yourself, focus in on those 6 words. And then know what that looks like and start being that. That, my friends, is congruence. That, my friends, will help you to significantly improve the self-image that you currently have and start walking back toward happiness, because the words that you choose will bring vibrancy, will bring aliveness, will bring happiness, and will bring joy. So please share your 6 words with the community. Who do you choose to be? What do you choose to focus on? How do you want to feel in this world? Because when you choose, the more you define who you want to be, and then you live in alignment with that, your self-image will improve.